Okay, I'm inspired to do a little walk and talk. I'll try to keep it 10 minutes or less, though that's usually my famous last words. But, as I walk around this, we're at the Guntersville Lock and Dam facility, I guess you'd call it. If this becomes it'll probably be a backup channel talk. But, we're looking around here, and there's just these little camp spots and picnic spots with the little grills and little picnic tables and a bathroom I'll show you here, and a little pavilion for a group gathering. Now, maybe in the summer, I would imagine, there's special occasions that happen, family reunions or birthdays or who knows, where people might come here. But as of right today, I'm the only one here, me and Wavy. There's not a single person here. And because I'm a thinker, neither good or bad, just because I think a lot, I can't help but think, it's almost like our society, our culture was built, the infrastructure was built for a future that didn't happen. And what I mean by that is depending on where you go, like up in the UP, for example, there's parks like this. I'm thinking like Sunday Lake in Wakefield. I have to drive through it all the time on my way back to Ontonagon. And it has this fantastic park with all this old school children's playground stuff that they probably wouldn't even allow these days. Not that kids even hardly go outside anymore, But it was obviously built in mind for people to be gathering in communal situations, and I have tried to talk about this before in other videos, like when I was in Iowa a couple years ago. I love Iowa, if you guys don't know. Rolling around these small towns, and there's all these, there's parks, great little parks in every little town, and you hardly ever see anybody there. You never see any kids playing on the swings or on the slides, and no one's really using it. And it just, the missing piece of the puzzle, for me is, I've been lately just kind of thinking, we built a infrastructure for a society that never actually happened, or it fizzled out. It might have lasted a little while, all of this. What is it? The CC. It was like I'll put it on the screen. It was like either before or just after World War II. There was like a Great Works project, I think that's what they call it, or like where the government kind of employed people, men mostly, to like build. Don't take that personally, feminist-minded women. I don't mean that, but like. Mostly men were looking for jobs when the Great Depression was happening, or right after World War II. I can't remember. It's like the CC, Conservation Corps of something. I should know this, but I can't remember at the moment. But, a lot of these places were built by that, like Black River Harbor, which I've shown you guys on the other side of the Porcupine Mountains up in the UP there from Ontonagon. They have a lot of Corps of Engineers, these make-work projects, I think is what they were called. Maybe just pulling on our leash here. And, that's where a lot of the rock work and all the skills, all that high-skilled stuff that I point out all the time, I love all the rock work and stuff. It was men having those jobs, mostly, and building that stuff. And so that created this quality infrastructure, for the public to use. It's not the only thing that did, but, and so they had these plans, I imagine, like society at large had these plans of like, people are going to continue to have families, and they're going to have children, and they're going to play in parks, and we're going to have family reunions and gatherings, and, and it petered out. Am I wrong? I mean, I'm just going by what I see, which is I don't see a lot of people out doing much. I mean, occasionally when I'm in the areas, like I remember in Florida, this just pops to my mind. I think I was in Oak Hill or something. It was one of those along the Okeechobee. There is a small town, and there was a nice little park there, and we did some exploring there, if on a video somewhere. And what I mostly saw was Mexican families and Indian families, and I would just say non-white families were out actually utilizing the park benches and the little grills, and they brought food, and they were, there's 20 of them there, extended family and stuff, which just told me that they still have family values. And again, I'm just calling balls and strikes here. I know there's exceptions, and if you're an exception, congratulations. But generally speaking, we've lost that in this country. And to get back to my point here, the missing piece of the puzzle is this was all made 50 plus years ago, and the people that did it had a different idea in mind as to how America was going to go. And I think probably what happened was no one could foresee the internet and screens and technology, and just how all pervasive and all encompassing and all consuming it was going to become on society, individuals, undermining relationships, interpersonal relationships between people in the real world. We're all but being mitigated by screens now. I'm talking to a screen right now, and that is not lost on me. So few people seem to interact. I mean, the older generations do, people, I would say 40s on up, maybe 50s on up, my generation on up. I'm a Gen Xer and boomers, and if anyone else is alive after that, you're pretty old, and congratulations again. But the kids, we'll just call them the kids. No, they're staring at screens. They're walking down the streets. I mean, you go into any sort of city and you start seeing people in their teens, 20s, and even 30s, and they can't even walk from their car to the doors of wherever they're going without staring at their phone, checking on their phone, and then when they're home, their computer's on, or their TV's on, or both, or smart TV, or whatever. It's almost like, it frustrates me because it's almost like one of these hidden in plain sight type of things where everyone just ignores it. It's almost like it's like the elephant in the room. No, hardly anyone ever talks about it. It's become so normalized, and just kind of like people have given up. They're just like, it's not, no one's gonna, no one can fix this. So why even bother? Just work with it, I kind of do that with making these videos. It's one of my motivators is if I'm going to be, if I'm gonna interact with screens, I want to try to make it as meaningful as I can. That's why I try to make these videos. One of the reasons. There's a couple more, but just this passive kind of. See, I feel like I'm being righteous. I don't mean to be. If it sounds like it, I promise I'm not. Like I'm not sitting here scolding anyone that watches a lot of YouTube. Like you found my videos, or you wouldn't be watching this. But I just think it has this exponential consequence that if you think about it, comes all the way into the real world. Maybe I'm getting a little too abstract, but I'm walking around this beautiful little park and nobody's here. And I know it's a Tuesday, but I don't know. Maybe I should check back on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe there'll be a few people here. I don't know. You kind of get what I'm trying to say? Hopefully it made a little bit of sense. We built an infrastructure for a future in this country that never actually materialized. I think it got hijacked, is what I think happened. I think darker powerful forces had to divide and conquer us. And that's how they control us. And so instead of being out here in groups and communities, and I mean, it's the same reason why the pubs are all but disappearing in the UK, and it's the reason why nightclubs and used to be square dancing clubs. I think my mom used to square dance when I was a kid, you know, when she'd actually go somewhere. You know, anything social has all, there's a book. Okay, I'll leave it with this. So, you know, I wasted my time in college studying sociology, and there's a couple of good sociological tomes. One of them is The Fourth Turning. That's a must read. I should just read it again. Another one is Bowling Alone. I'll put it on the screen right there. A book called Bowling Alone. It's a hefty read. It's like 800 pages, but it basically is like it describes in the greatest of detail. Actually, moving the bars so we can go through. If you're on Backwater, if you're over in Backwater's back roads, we're kind of delayed for an hour or so going through the Guntersville lock and dam because they're having to break apart some of the bigger barges and push them through and stuff. No big deal. I'm actually glad we got delayed. Really cool little stop. But yeah, Bowling Alone. Check it out. You can get it probably pretty cheap used. It was probably a bestseller of some sort. It just talks about the decline and ultimate demise of all social connections in our society. Hence, somebody bowling alone. Okay, guys. As always, if you're here, thank you. Thank you for your time. And we'll get back over to Backwaters and Backroads and get through this lock and dam and keep having the adventure. So, see you there. Thanks. Load up, Beagle. I know this was a nice little walk. Spontaneous, but gotta get back on the boat.